On Friday, it was reported that a 12-year-old boy returned to his school after the summer break as a girl. The boy attended school in a dress with pigtails and is said to be preparing to undergo hormone treatment and surgery, making him the youngest ever sex swap patient, allegedly.
Yesterday, it was revealed that another boy had turned up at his school as a girl, this time aged 9. The child wore a female uniform with hair tied in pink ribbons, and the classmates were told that the boy had left school and been replaced by a girl.
Well, with us now, one person who knows only too well what these children and their families are going through. 7 years ago, 21-year-old James Harries underwent sex reassignment surgery to transform himself into Lauren. And Lauren joins us now, along with psychologist Dr. Kenneth Dembski, and welcome both.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Now, obviously, a lot of people will immediately be thinking, where do I know her from? Where do I know her from? But of course, in the late 1980s, you went on the Wogan show. You're a very precocious child, knew your antiques, and you had, you know, this mass of curly hair and your bow ties.
Hair, yes.
So that's the person that we knew, and you were saying before we started here that that being famous at that time, and you were very, very famous, you know, was
Still
a great
very, very famous.
Yes, was a great distraction, and a distraction from school, a distraction, I suppose, from life, because you know you've said that you knew right from the word go that you were trapped in the wrong body.
Yes, I would definitely say it was. My outlet was television instead of going to school, and yes, I knew I was it's what you call a woman trapped in a boy's body. But it was very quick, because I was so busy on Oprah and going on television that I bottled it up until one day I couldn't bottle it up anymore.
But you had enormous support from your family, didn't you?
Yes, and I'd like to say thank you to my family from the bottom of my heart, because they're the most wonderful, loving family you could possibly ever ask for. And there's so many people in my situation whose families leave them, disown them, throw them out. And I just want to say a really big thank you to my family and my father, who sometimes I nag a bit, but I love you all.
What was the process like for you? So, I mean, you had your final operation in 2001, didn't you? The final transformation.
Yes.
And so the lead up to that, what sort of process do you go through from kind of saying, right, I feel like I am a woman trapped in a boy's body, and then sort of how does it work from there?
Well, first of all, you know you're a woman trapped in a boy's body, otherwise you wouldn't go for it at all. And then you have to see psychologists and counsellors. But the thing is, most of all, on the NHS, it takes too long, so I had to pay for that. And I had numerous operations to make me who I am today.
And also mentally put under an enormous amount of stress and pressure. I mean, you did have 2, thank goodness, failed suicide attempts.
Yes, I did, yes. Because you must understand, that I'm sure you agree, that you feel as if you can't live with the body you're in. So it's either get the scissors, which is how people feel, or just die, basically. And you have to, you feel very impatient. All you want to do is to have this operation. And the problem is, that's not good, because you have to be patient, because in the end of the day, you do have it done. And then you have to live with those circumstances too, because life isn't easy either way.
Dr. Dembski, I mean, over the weekend when we read these reports, I mean, obviously you had the first story and then the second story came out. For us it might have been quite surprising, but for you this is nothing new at all.
Well, I've been working with the trans people and their families for...
Excuse me one moment, but I don't like the term trans people. I mean, I don't even like the word anything to do with trans people. I think it's basically either a woman or, well, just trans people just doesn't go for me.
It's difficult to... for us...
It is difficult for you.
Because human beings
need... But you see, why do we need to label people?
Well, there has to be a description, otherwise we wouldn't know who we were talking about.
People are people, human beings.
So how would we say here that...
Well, let's say, well, trans women, then. It's better than saying trans people.
Well, I mean, we could get caught up on the sort of...
Well, you see, basically, it's words like that people get mixed up. It's prejudice. I mean, I was only in a marketplace just not long ago, and they said, oh, that's that drag queen. You know, and then what we're doing with this with the stories, we're focusing on the little girl here. And, you know, if people call people trans people, then they're going to say, you're a tran, you are, you're a tran. That's not nice.
Well,
we've got to think of a new word.
For the purposes
of course, I understand that. But
interviewing eminent doctor here.
Yes.
And respectfully, we must do that. So when it comes, as we were saying then, when you discover that there is a person who is trapped in the wrong body, as Holly said, this is not something that's new, but perhaps nowadays we're just a little more sensational about it.
Well, I think where the general public has had its awareness raised to a great degree, that there are many gender variant people across the spectrum, and that they have always been part of the human population, and people are now feeling empowered to realize themselves, to fulfill their potential, rather than suffer greatly in silence or to lead greatly unfulfilled lives in roles assigned to them at birth that sometimes didn't fit at all.
So what happens to these two boys now who want to be girls? Their families, it would appear also, as yours did, are hugely supportive. They're at school, which can be a very, very cruel place. And as they and kids have an excuse because they're kids. But as they grow older, adults don't have any excuse, and they will grow up with this prejudice.
Well, I think people sometimes focus on transition and focus on how difficult that is. But I think what they're underestimating is how difficult it is to be a person for whom transition would be right, pre-transition.
I agree. I think that's what we're trying to say is, some people think that they are a boy trapped in a woman trapped in a boy's body. You get so confused. But you have to make sure that the person's right for it, mentally, physically, because it's a big upheaval.
But there's an argument, isn't there, where they're saying that, I mean, in Britain at the moment, you can't have this operation or this hormone treatment until you're 16?
16, that's right. And I think that this little girl should have the transition now so she can get familiar with being a woman.
And also because there's some irreversible, as you go through puberty, there's things like your muscles get bigger, you get more masculine
and
shape.
also you get very emotional.
Right.
And I also think that she should have a hormone test to see what levels they are. And I also think they should have a book talking about transsexuals as like a medical book, because my GP doesn't have a clue, and not many doctors do. I'm sure you do. But if you go to Smith's or you go to a shop and you say, I want a book on transsexuals, what happens when it happens? What are the hormones like?
Well, you should write it.
I should.
You should.
They don't have one.
In your opinion, at what point should a child begin to undergo that sort of hormone treatment, something that may perhaps in the future be irreversible?
Well, I think that probably the Dutch have a good model, and it's used widely in the States. And it's in quite sharp distinction to the UK model, so it's worth mentioning, I think. There are 5 stages of puberty, and the first 2 are largely insignificant. The big changes come in the last 3. Now, in the UK, there's a rather harsh requirement that a child complete all 5 stages of puberty before that person's gender dysphoria is taken really seriously. And so the person has to go through many irreversible changes before they're allowed to say, you know, this is not my gender, truly. In Holland and many places in the States, where I come from, it's after the first 2 stages when there are minimal skeletal, muscular, vocal changes that have to be then worked against in transition.
We unfortunately we only just get into these things, and we have to finish.
And there's just one thing I wanted to say.
In 10 seconds.
Yes, in 10 seconds. I've got a show coming up called 9 to 5. And also I wanted to.
You are going to run out of time.
No, I know it's very serious, but
no, you have run out of time. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.
Just wanted to do that. Thank you.